In the book Sax Scorchers, edited by Nigel Wood, there is a piece called Sleaze-Ball, and this one's written by Chris Gumbley, and at a crotchet equals 60, it is just a straight jazz piece, lots of rubato, lots of space to do some crazy things, as you'll hear, and that does make some very difficult aspects to this piece, so we'll do a run through, then we'll go over some of those difficult aspects. Okay, so there's a lot of space to do some crazy things here. So think smoky bar, sleazy saxophone sound. It's all in the title. Now we have a lot of challenging rhythms here, but at its core, this is what this comes down to. This is all about your subdivisions. Okay, and I stress this a lot. You start off with your crotchet, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you've got quavers, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then you got your triplets, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and then occasionally there's some semiquavers, so 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and those are your musical building blocks. If you can see this on the page, you can identify those building blocks, you construct the bar, the 4-beat bar, with those building blocks. You take away all the articulation, all the lines, even all the accidentals at this point are irrelevant. We're looking at the rhythm, and this will create better understanding of what the heck is going on. Because music, really the most basic of all music is rhythm, body percussion, it's all about rhythm. Pitch is secondary, but of course, makes the music a lot more interesting if we have pitch as well. But it's actually the rhythms that are going to become quite confusing here. Sure, you can play some bung notes, but you can get away with a lot of wrong notes in this piece, and it'll actually sound kind of good. But really, it's the rhythm that's going to trip you up. So the more brain power you have to spare because you understand the rhythm, you can put that brain power to notes, then shape and articulation, all that good stuff. So what we have at the beginning, we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and at its core, it's very basic. It's just 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and what's making this really confusing is we have a grace note, and then another grace note, and then a wiggly line for your chromatic slide down, and then there's a bend, there's a big scoop. So now we have bar 2, a crotchet, 1, 2E and a 3 and 4, and with some syncopation. Oh my gosh, it's all suddenly got very confusing. So again, building blocks. Bar 2, we've got a crotchet, 1. Now we have a group of 4 semiquavers, 2E and then we have a quaver, crotchet, quaver, the syncopation. But the music's going quite slow, just break it up into its quavers. 3 and 4 and 1. Now, let's just play it. Let's play it with no embellishments. Okay, now I'll pulse it out even more. So this is the quavers. And now we're on bar 3. Bar. Okay, so as long as you can see that in the music, suddenly it starts to take up a little more shape and get a bit more understanding. Okay, now let's try and just smooth it out. Still, no decorations. Keep it nice and basic. So even though we've tied that B to the beginning of bar 2, so 1, 2, you want to strip away that tie from your thinking, from the timing. So it's 1 and 2, E and A. So even though you're still playing the note, you want to play that beat 2 in your mind. 1 and 2, E and A. Take out the tie if need be. Okay, because that gives you the rhythmic understanding. Let's just go to bar 3, because now it gets even more into crazy town. We have a crotchet, then a triplet, then 2 quavers and 2 semiquavers and a quaver, and then back to 2 quavers. So what are our building blocks? The crotchet, nice and easy. Then we have a triplet, pineapple, pineapple. So 1, 2 and a, or 1, pineapple. Then we have 2 semiquavers and a quaver. So it's kind of like the 1 little, 2 little, 3 little teddy bears, da-ka-da, or da-da-ka-da, da is one way, or da-ka-da, da-ka-da, right? So it's that 1 little, 2 little, 3 little teddy bears tune. So we have dun, 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 da-ka-da, da-ka-da, and then bar 4, beat 4, da-da. So 1, pineapple, da-da-da, 4 and 1. Let's take away all the slurs, all the ties, let's tongue it out. Now we put our ties back in. Okay, so that is now a 4-bar phrase. We're finished on a double dotted minim, crikey. So double dotted minim, nice long note. And now we have the embellishments. Oh my gosh, what is going on here? Grace note, B sharp, middle finger. But that little wiggly line, so that for a music like this is probably a chromatic scale. It's very small here. We've only gone from a C sharp to an A sharp. We don't have many. Oops, I missed one. Okay, so we've only got 3 notes to transition through. Now remember, these little wiggly lines are almost like a different way of doing, say, a grace note. Your core notes are still ba da 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 da, so you want to leave that little run da 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 to the last moment. I keep missing my C. Okay, because the more notes you have in there, the smoother and silkier it'll sound. So if you got to be good at your chromatic scales. Okay, then we have this line. Now I like to think of the wiggly lines as more of a chromatic run, and these kind of lines is more of a, like, it depends on the piece. This one I'll do as a bend, so it'll be like this this disgusting. So this is all jaw movement. You're basically taking a note, you're making it ridiculously flat and just bending up to it. And then the decorations continue. So remember, the grace notes are a decoration of a note. They come in just before the one you're decorating. So ba-da, ba-da-da, and then we've got another 4. So we don't have many notes, right? So you want to hold that B for as long as you can. If you start your run too early, you'll end up with timing issues. See, this is why it was so important to understand the rhythmic groupings, all your building blocks, before you start going to crazy town and putting all the embellishments in. Another short little grace note. Short little chromatic run. But then there's a giant one. Now the more notes you can get in there, the better it's going to sound, so you've got to practice your chromatic scale. So tricks to this, really, it's just practicing the chromatic scale. But the other thing too is you don't want to get too carried away, you don't want to overshoot your target. We're only going up to a C sharp, so careful not to go deeper than that. Ultimately, what you're doing really though is you hit your B flat, and you're going to aim for that C sharp. So even if you just did white notes, or something, okay, whatever. And if you just don't do full chromatic and you just pick some notes, what are we in D major? So do some D major scale down, it's going to sound effective. All right. What we have next is a continuation of the same discipline. So we could possibly race through this. Okay, we got quavers again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Okay, still just core quaver subdivision. It's got a screaming high F. Ouch, it sounds painful on the alto saxophone. I'm not the master of it. But the composer has done you a massive favor. It is forte. You do not have to make some kind of silky quiet little F. You just hammer that sucker out, get lots of velocity, lots of firepower through the instrument. Just hit that F, just be confident with it. Give it a bit of length. Okay, don't bail. You want to keep the length, keep the intensity. You want to go into the B, and then we keep on going, keep the air moving, and then it'll all work. If as soon as the air drops, everything's going to die. It might squeak. It might just stop working. So you want to keep the air velocity. Lots of core strength, pushing air through the instrument. Okay, we're just pushing air all the time. It's unrelenting. It's a very physical instrument, this thing. Okay, it may be easier to blow than, say, an oboe or a clarinet, but there's still a lot of effort required to make these notes really sing. Okay, so that's tricky rhythms. 1, 2 E and a 3 and 4 and, but again, strip out all the lines. You got to crotchet, 4 semiquavers, daka daka doo da da da. Okay, now the next bar. Okay, this one's pretty intense. We have quaver rest, 2 semiquavers, semiquaver with a dotted quaver, and then some triplets. But again, we break it down into its little building blocks, each beat at a time. So we have a quaver rest, 2 semiquavers. Da-da, da-da, 1, little, 2, little. We're just taking away the quaver, turn into a rest. So, ba-ba, daka, doo, daka. Then we have the quavers, dotted quaver, semiquaver, dotted quaver rhythm. So, da-da, da-da, 2 E and a, 2 E and a, and then 2 triplets. Pineapple, pineapple. So it means all just building blocks. So we have, ba-ba-ba-bam, bam, 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 bam. And a 2 E and a pineapple, pineapple. Now. Okay, I've stripped out all the lines and things, all the slurs, all the ties. Okay, then you put your ties back in, but don't let it impact your ability to focus in on those building blocks per beat. Okay, so that is the end of, say, part 1 of the piece, your A part, A section. So now our B section is something slightly different. We have more triplets. So the very first triplet that comes in on beat 4, just to make life great for you, you have a quaver rest, so pineapple, 1 and. So we have this mixture of triplets and quavers. Pineapple, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. 3 pineapples, pineapple, pineapple 2, pineapple 4, pineapple 2, 3, and then the phrase ends. Okay, so we have a typical 4-bar phrase with a lead-in. So our lead-in starts on beat 4. But because the piece is quite slow, to do an entire 4 bars might be a bit of a stretch. So if you do your 2 bars, there's a nice safe spot to breathe without the music starting to not make sense. Now this is a very important aspect of a difficult piece of music like this. You could play something like this as an intermediate player, and you go, man, this music makes no sense. I don't know, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, what's it doing? I don't understand where the tune is. And that's because of phrases. You got to know where the phrases begin and end. So we start as a lead-in. So the tune doesn't actually start until right on bar 9, but it has a lead-in to that. So that lead-in is not the other phrase. Okay, the phrase has already ended. Now we have the new phrase. Now we could breathe there. We're not quite end of bar 2, but we kind of like lead into the second half of the phrase. Now the danger here is that as you're playing this piece of music, you'll want to breathe in places, but the phrase hasn't ended yet. So you breathe, but then because the phrase hasn't ended, you then kind of keep going afterwards. But then the phrase ends and now you've breathed again. So now you've chopped the music up. So it's very, very important to understand where phrases actually begin and end and try and get all the way through it. If you don't, again, it's like, oh, it's a jumble of notes. It doesn't make any sense. You have to find the musical sentences. So if I play the second half of this kind of like B section, it's the same rhythm. However, this is not exactly 8 bars. It's 8 bars plus 1 extra bar. It's kind of like this weird little afterthought echo thing. So here's the lead in. See, it's just that 4-bar phrase plus an extra one. Just lengthen it out, creates a little bit more musical tension because it hasn't predictably finished. It's like, ooh, but actually. Okay, so it's a good little compositional trick there. Okay, hasn't really resolved. And it's taking us all the way there. Okay, so now we're on to the last part of the piece, the last third. It's a little bit like the beginning, slightly more complex rhythms. It's got all the falls and things and stuff, so we'll just run through it. But again, hone in on your subdivisions. So we've got quavers to start off with. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so that's bar 1, and then 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and it's all very, very you can make it quite rigid if you want to, right? If you're struggling to get the count. Okay, so now let's put the embellishments in. So there is a danger here that you've done so much syncopation that you might do a lot of anticipation of beats. Sometimes you just got to wait for beats to arrive. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1. So even if you don't like holding that C sharp out for its full length, remember that if you made it short, because let's say it's a staccato, the next note's still not going to come in early. It's still just going to come in on beat 1. So you got to make sure you know where you're on the bar. And then when 1 shows up, that's when your note starts. And we keep on going. 1, 2. So that's that tricky bar again, that one with the triplet, the dotted quaver, sorry, 2 semiquavers, quaver, then a triplet. So 1 and pineapple, 2 and 3 and, whoa, wrong. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and a 1. Whew, okay, what a mouthful. But I assure you, if you can master that skill, the stuff is going to start locking in way better and the music will just sound right. Like it won't drift. Like it's like right on the money. And then you can have full control over your rubatos. You speed up and you slow down if you can actually get it quite metronomic to your own count. So we keep on going. So hopefully at the end there you can start sensing, oh, he's definitely doing a triplet. Do ga ga do ga da, and then the quavers da 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 da. And that's really the trick in this piece, is you have to be able to hear that distinction, feel that distinction, because the risk is that you might accidentally swing some quavers and then the swing will feel like a bit of a triplet, or maybe you'll play the triplets too slow and they'll start sounding like quavers, or maybe you'll play your quavers too fast and now they're suddenly going like they're like the proportion of your triplet. So it's so important to lock into those subdivisions, 1 and 2 and 3 and etc., just so this piece sounds like it's supposed to, and again, so that it doesn't sound like a jumble of notes. So that's a lot of information. Hopefully it goes some way to explain what on earth is going on in Sleaze-Ball and how to make it really sing from the page.